Right folks, so here we have the cylinder head back from the machine shop, engineering shop, whatever you like to call it, and we have come back with some complete and utter sadness. So let me just show you guys what's happened. Cylinder number 2 there has absolutely died, and there's nothing we can do about it. We can't even patch repair it or anything. They reckon the metal's gone porous. They're not sure what's happened, to be frankly honest with you. Whether there's an internal crack inside this one. But yeah, she's donezo. So what we're going to be doing now is going to be removing all the valves out of this one and getting the new cylinder head ready for prepping and getting it ready to be rebuilt. So while that's all on order, and as per usual, everything's on back order. So we shall have it back here in about a week or so, which will be bloody fantastic, if you ask me. So let's get out these 16 valves. Let's go and have a look at the seats on them, and let's see what let's just see what we've got when we get them out as well. Right, folks. So after a bit of thingy, I've already gotten one out, and I've had to modify my spring compressor to accommodate this cylinder head because for some reason it's quite shallow, and I guess this thing's just quite old. Now what we're going to do is just going to put them on the back sides like so, the faces on there, and just crimp them together. A fine little screwdriver like so. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go in and hook out the little collets from inside here, which are quite a pesky little things on a good day, let alone on a bad day. Right, and there we go. That is called a collet. A collet is what there is, a collar that holds onto the valves, that holds it in to stop it from dropping down, and allowing the valve to drop inside your engine. And it's basically a locking ring. And like I say, oh, he's already come out. Look. And these, when they go to put them back together, they pop off and blow out, and literally they run around everywhere. So, minding our fingers. God, my goodness. Ah, there we go. There's the top of the seat that goes on top of the valve spring, look. That goes on there. And these valves are really tough to get out. And like so. I don't know whether this is my imagination, but it looks like to me that these valves are slightly tweaked from locking up. So what I'm going to do is not a dead cert. That one has a slight wobble to it. Doesn't mean that the drill's not straight. I believe these are the inlets, the bigger ones. Spinning something up in the drill isn't 100%, but that one looks less bent than this one. So I think what we're going to need to do is send these off, and again send these off and have them properly machine tested in a so you know this 100%, because this sort of job you just don't want to get into it and figure out that we've got some bent valves from where the water's leaked into, and it's called a hydrolock, and we've tweaked the valve slightly because on multiple occasions the chap that owns it has said that the van would not start. He'll turn the starter motor, it'll go and it'll go bang, and then he'll leave it for like 10 minutes and it'll go and then it'll sort of go over again. So we had a new starter motor fitted, batteries and everything else, thinking it was the starter motor, and in fact it was his cylinder head leaking water into the combustion chambers, and it was actually causing a hydrolock within inside the engine. So without much more of ado, I'm going to get you guys on time lapse. I'm going to whiz out all these valves and get you guys caught up once we've got it all stripped out. Right folks, so I've finally got into removing all the valves. Some of the inlet valves on this side of the head was an absolute bear to get out, and yet some on this end and at the back, some of the exhaust ones were absolutely a bliss to get out. They just slid right out. Yet some of these were really stiff. So I think, if I have to say on my opinion, that we've got some bent valves, at least 3. So I'm going to be seeing what they want to do next, because, you know, we've got a brand new head. We might even end up with a brand new set of valves. And if I bring you into these collets here, it's this little fella here. I'll get him, trying to show you, look. See if it'll even focus. Look at that, look. There's an actual chunk taken out the collet, and that's not even by me removing it. So, I mean, I think, me personally, I think that's what it should look like. I think, in my opinion, that this van has absolutely screamed off the limiter at one stage or twice in its life, and they might have gotten away with it. But yeah, I think we're going to be going down the lines of just having them at least checked, and we might be needing 3 valves. So I'll get you guys back when we've got it more stripped down, and well, we've already stripped it down. Just got a couple of bits to remove, like the timing bit stud there, and a few odds and ends. But like I say, folks, you know, oh dear. So folks, here we have it. We're just mocking up now the existing valves that are in our old cylinder head into the new cylinder head, and so far they seem to have gone in this head just absolutely perfect. So rather the ports or the valve guides or something in the other head was just absolutely trashed, and obviously, you know, we've taken them, we've cleaned them all up. They don't look clean, but that's because I've been putting a bit of grease on them, look, just assembly grease. But ding-a-ling-ling, ding-a-ling-ling, that's it, broke it. There we go, look. There's a bit of pitting and stuff on the valves, but, you know, at the end of the day, the person doesn't want to go too far. So, you know, I mean, we're already into it for quite a bit now. You know, for a remanufactured cylinder head, you know, it looks the absolute dog's new-news. So, you know, we're just going to crack on now and get whatever I can back together now, and wait, I suppose, until we get some more collets. But yeah, nonetheless, we're just going to get on, put the plug in the back of the head, which is just down in here, wherever it is. There's a little plug here somewhere, yeah, just here on the back of the head. So just down in here. I've got to put a new sleeve in there, which is This has remarkably come with a brand new, or is it brand new screw, washer and whatnot. So I've got to press in also the water pipe, which isn't a big deal, and a few odds and ends, and we'll be back together and going up the road with this van hopefully, and this van will be a-okay. So I'll get you guys in a bit more when I start putting the valves back in and and whatnot. Okay, so we've put all 15 valves back in, so I'm going to show you guys how to do number 16. And like I say, you are going to need the special doodly do valve spring compressor. So I'm going to tip the head up on its side like so. I'm going to not scratch our new mating surfaces. Compress one spring, and what you're going to have is you'll have these 3 little grooves down inside here. That's what the collets sit on, which is what locks in the valve and on the spring, stops it from the valve and the spring separating. Now if I go and get the new ones here, right, like I say, they look like this. Well, I haven't just chucked it all over the place. So they look like that. And as you saw, you had the groove on the valve, and you have the 3 grooves on the collet. And now what we're going to do is, using a very slightly magnetised screwdriver, I'm just going to drop them inside like so. Push them round and push it off like I've just done. Quite tricky little fellas these. This was actually my first job as an apprentice. I was doing this job. That's why I know what I'm doing. And my first job was lapping valves by hand and taking the valves out and all the rest of it. Quite a tedious, boring job, but there's quite a lot of responsibility in doing these, because obviously we don't want to drop our valves. They are fiddly, tricky little buggers, but once you've done it all, the reward is great, especially when you got your vehicle back and you've done it. You haven't paid anybody to do it. Come on, you pesky little bugger. Right. Right. So, what you're looking for is for your collet to look like that, attached to the valve. So, now what we do next is we're going to pull this down slightly so it lines up a bit more. Relief it. Remove our spring compression tool. Turn the head back over like so. And it's going to look like that when you're finished. Now what you're going to do is, I've got a 10mm on an extension, and just lightly push it down a few times to make sure that it's seated and it can't spring back out. So that's basically all I've done here for all 16 valves now. And I've also put new valve stem oil seals in on all of them. I didn't show you that because that's just quite boring. But again, with the 10mm, put a bit of grease inside your O-rings. You sit them on top, and I just lightly wriggle like that, and then just pop down the valve stem oil seals. And then at the end, what you can do is, if you wanted to, is just give them a little tap with a very light little hammer, but nothing. You're not beating them because you're going to break all your oil seals, and that'll be bad. So what I'll do now is I'll get you guys back in a minute to show you guys how to time this up, put all the rockers in, and time it all up, and etc. Right, so now as you can see, we've got our rocker swing arms and hydraulic tappets, all still in the way it came out of the old head, because the valves and the camshafts, they're all located and they're all worn to these as should be. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to grease all these up with a engine assembly grease. So, because don't forget, for the first 10 to 15 seconds, maybe less on some engines, you know, mainly for the 10 seconds and less, that the engine's not going to be having any oil really up top. So what we're going to do is we're going to grease it all up, so we just try and minimise any sort of wear, etc. And then we can hopefully not do any damage when we put this engine back together if we do it right. So I'll get you guys caught back up in just a moment. So like I say, you know, we've just gone ahead and dipped them in oil and to help assemble. I'm going to go ahead and put a bit of grease, a bit of engineering grease, assemble grease, whatever you want to call it, and just carefully wipe off the excesses. And we're just going to drop it in like so, and we're going to do that 16 times again, and get you guys brought back once I've done that in a minute. Right guys, and fillets, okie right, well, there's another piece of disaster. So it looks like we might be putting another set of rocker arms in it as well. I tell you, this poor little van has had the absolute snot kicked out of it. I mean, we've had to put some new, I managed to find some second-hand valves. You know, they were donated to the channel and whatnot. And we got a thing that's the valve rocker that's broke. You know, I just don't know, guys. This thing is just ridiculous. Getting on my nerves a little bit. I just missed it. Obviously, I missed it when I was taking it apart. But, you know, things are to be things are. So I'm going to be getting it timed up today and whatnot. So unless I can find another one in my spares, I'll have a look and get you guys caught up if I do. Okay, so we've got the final rocker arm in now. Put another one in it. You know, thanks to the local breakers. They've really helped me on this one. They've just donated the rocker arm to us, which was absolutely fantastic of them. And thank you. We've just got the cams now back in. We're just timing it up now. I'm just using a 6mm drill bit into the location down. And using the back of the piece of the pulley. That's the inlet. No, the exhaust side, sorry, done and timed up. The inlet side is run off the back by these two gears. And if we come round to the back now, look, if I just move the old tripod and bring you round to the back of here, to the back side of the head. Yes, it doesn't look like it's straight at the minute, but we haven't got the carrier on. And basically, this across here needs to be dead flat across the top of here when we've got the carrier on. So it takes a little bit of finagling. But we're somewhat, I believe, to be straight with the head look, if I can get the right camera angles. So we're sort of somewhat there now when it's all bolted down. So with a bit of luck, we've got that spot on. Like I said, that got a plate that goes on top of there, you know, a ruler or whatever, just a piece of metal the same thickness, and you'll be laughing. So don't be intimidated by this setup, because obviously it makes sense. Because you've got cutouts here, look, for the head bolts, and cutouts here for the head bolts. So you know, we're going to make sure that we're perfectly in time, obviously, before we start the van. And because, you know, that would just be tears. And we really don't want tears with this. This has really gone far, way too far already. But it needed to be done. So there's nothing more we could do. So at the back of here on the new head, we've got to put a new stud in there to block off this oil gallery. And also we've got to put the stud back in down here for the auxiliary tensioner. The cam-belt tensioner, sorry. I'll put my head back together. So yeah, we're really moving along now with this, and I'm hoping now that the cylinder gasket is going to turn up as the right one, and we'll have a happy next week when we have all this back together. So that's all I've really got for you right now, but we'll get all this put back on. We'll set the carrier on top. We'll put some little bit of dab of silicone stuff around here. You know, let me show you guys. This is our favourite stuff again. Look, it's this stuff. This is a very weak, well not weak, but very strong sealant, and we're just going to put a very light layer all the way around here, round inside here on the edges, and all our oil seals and that. And then when we clamp it all down, the top of the carrier compresses into this. It's been pretty much metal on metal. There is no gasket here, so that's why we need the liquid silicone stuff, that stuff, because it works wonders, and we should never need to touch it again. So yeah, basically that's really about it for what I've got for you now. But if I get a bit, you know, anything else I want to show you, I'll show you as I'm going along. Right, okay, so we've finally got all the timing done, and we've nipped these down just finger tight. Well, just nip them down really, to be honest with you. What we're going to do now is we're just going to put the vacuum pump on the back and a few odds and ends. I mean, I've already been ahead and just cleaned everything up. I mean, like these little pipes and stuff, you know, nothing says better than looking at some nice clean pipes that looks like it's been, you know, a half-tidy decent job. Right, that brings me now on to your vacuum pump gaskets. Now, there's a choice of two for your vacuum pump, so do not chuck away your old vacuum pump gasket, because here's mine. Mine is that one. It looks like an oval with like a pyramid on the top, and that's this one just here. Well, I don't know what the differences are, but I'm going to go with the one that's on the vehicle and call it a day. And basically that just goes on the back of there like so, and that just bolts up like so. That's our thing we've got to block up on ours, because the oil pressure switch goes in the side of that. But yeah, we're moving along now with the old cylinder head, and we're getting pretty much to the point where, you know, it's sort of like there. I mean, we've just got these few other little box of bits, you know, just for the water pipe at the back of the block, well, the back of the head, and the glow plugs and the oil pressure switch, which we're going to clean up and everything in a minute. And that's going to be pretty much it. And then then we're going to be putting the exhaust studs in, and the for the tension at the front, and a few odds and ends. But really, that's going to be about it, because there ain't much more I can do with this without actually needing the van. So what I'm going to do now is just basically get you back when I've got it on the van or something. I don't know when we'll get up next. Right, folks, so we're pretty much there now, and we're pretty much back to being reassembled. I've only gone ahead and chucked the turbo on with its new hardware. We're going to take the turbo back off when we're at the van, just so it makes this a little bit lighter to put on top of the engine and manoeuvre. But yeah, pretty much we've gone ahead and put the new stud back in at the front. Well, new, I'll say the old one. And, you know, this is pretty much it now. It's fully reassembled, and we'll be putting it back together and showing you guys what it runs like when it's all done, because I'm quite chuffed for that. And I'll be also chuffed to get my table back, because it looks like a bomb's hit it, and it does my head in. Right, anyway, good morning folks, on another video on the Volkswagen Crafter. Now, we didn't film putting this back together because when we were trying to put it back together, because I don't know where I am with the videos at the minute whilst editing them, but when we were putting this back together, a lot of the time it was absolutely torrential rain. It was horrible, windy, it was no good for filming, and there was a lot of frustration, especially when the gazebo collapsed on us and we got soaking wet, and there was a whole lot of things and pieces, because it's getting on for that time of year. But anyway, let's just get you guys caught back up to where we're at. We've done the cylinder head on the van now. The first start up, well, let's call it, wasn't a good success. We ran into a couple of issues, but we managed to sort them out, like the odd leaks and the oil return and feed to the turbo. That was all leaking. There was like loads of little things, that just needed nipping back up and constantly going over somebody else's work. But so what we're going to do today is, again, go back over somebody else's work, because the got a fault code for the glow plugs open circuit 3 and 4. So we will be getting into that, because I think, if I remember rightly, the wiring harness is damaged at the back, and I think I showed you in the video when we were taking it apart, and I forgot to put it back together. So yeah. Anyway, nonetheless, we do have a new bottle coming as well. I'm going to get this replaced because it's got a coolant low sensor issue, and we're just going over the few odds and ends, because this van's got some road trips to do and we can't have it breaking down on us. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at the minute, but I'll get you guys caught up when we've done the glow plugs. Right folks, so as you can see, we're back and driving it. We've been driving it now for about 20 or 30 miles. It's been pretty decent. We've had a couple of bits of smoke, from the build, which has eventually cleared. We're up to about 85 degrees. It's not too bad. So at the end of the day, I'm going to call this one a success and a bit of a wrap. The only thing we've got left to do, like I said, is to change the bottle on the header tank. We do it with antifreeze, and basically that's going to be a wrap on this van, I guess. I won't bore you with trying to change the bottle and that. So as I'm going to say on my behalf, much love from me folks, and peace out.